Have you ever felt like your practice routine isn't making you a better player? Trust me, you're not the only one. Over the years, I have found a few classical studies that have changed how I practice, and honestly, they just have made me a better player without even realizing it. It's gradual change, it's slow change, but it is totally worth it. And today, I'm going to share 3 of them with you. What's up, guitarists? So the first one we're going to look at is soar, specifically Opus 6, number 6. It also goes by study number 12 or estudio number 12. It's the study in thirds. I'm going to link a PDF of it down below. I prefer the Segovia edition because the fingerings in there also can teach you a lot of stuff. I'm going to link down the one that's in public domain so that you can download it. But if you like the Segovia edition, I actually highly recommend getting this book. I don't know exactly, ignore sheet music, I don't know exactly where you can purchase it because I bought this a few years ago, but I highly recommend this. It's 20 of his studies that have been fingered by Segovia. But first, let's have you listen to a clip of the music so you can see what we're aiming for, and then we'll go from there. Cool, so now that you've heard it, it's essentially a study in thirds. And so what he does is Soar takes you through the entire fretboard and shows you where and how to play thirds on the guitar, which are the building blocks of classical music. And so even in just that opening phrase that you just heard, right? He has thirds on the B and the G string, 1, 2, 3, 1. And then notice how when you switch to the E and the B string, your fingerings change. So what I would recommend is that when you play this piece, pay super close attention to those fingerings. Because those are what's going to teach you not only how to shift properly, but also it'll allow you to start practicing removing tension from your hand, because you won't be able to play those shifts effectively if you have tension in your body. And so you're going to not only practice thirds, you're going to practice legato, you're going to practice tension removal, you're going to practice having a pedal bass. In just that one first line, that first phrase, he also has dynamic markings. So he starts you off on a piano, crescendo, and then he decrescendos from here. So just that first line alone, you got dynamic markings, you got phrasing, you've got thirds, you got some music theory in there, you've got technique of the left hand, legato, you have right hand with the pedal bass, you have shifting of positions. In just the first 8 measures, you got that and so much more, and you have 2 pages worth of this study. So what I always recommend to my students, if you're a beginner student, then I would recommend just learning the first 2 lines. Literally just the first 2 lines, so what I just played. Because it does start to get a little harder. If you're an intermediate student, then you can start to look at the rest of the piece and start to slowly apply it to the rest of your practicing. But I think there's something in here for everyone, including advanced students. But more than anything, if you're a beginner student, stick with the first 2 lines and don't move on until you're ready. Ask your teacher about that. Always ask your teacher about these things. Bring this music to them, see what they think. But I couldn't recommend this enough. Give it a try. So now that you looked at soar, we're going to want to look at one of the most important concepts on classical guitar, which is voice balancing. And so this is everywhere when it comes to guitar technique because it's so important. Because we have so many different voices that we're playing on the guitar, it's important to know when you need to make one stick out. And Coste as one of the best studies to practice voice balancing. And Coste was actually one of Soar's students. So we're going through a very natural progression here, where Coste studied with Soar, and then Coste composed these based off his own experience. And so first, take a listen to the study so you can kind of know what to expect, and we'll go from there. Alright, so now that you know what it sounds like, let's talk about voice balancing. And so voice balancing is when you bring out one voice. In this case, we're talking about the melody, to have it carry through the accompanying voices. And so in this case, let's say we're going to identify the melody. You have bum, 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 right? That's your melody. What I recommend my students do once you identify the melody, play the melody as loud as you can, and then play the accompaniment as quiet as possible. Really exaggerate it. And it's probably not going to sound great at first, but that's the point. The point is to have your ears get used to hearing what your options are, and then hear the difference it makes, right? A little forte. And then once you get used to doing that, then you can start bringing them closer together in terms of dynamics and finding that beautiful middle ground where they meshed well and sing together. And the accompaniment is accompanying and not overpowering the melody. Right? What you don't want to have happen is to have everything be at the same volume. So here's what that would sound like. Right, not great, not the best. You're still playing all the same notes, but it's a different piece, right? And so you really want to take the time when you're looking at this piece, this study, and what this study teaches you is to take the time to identify each voice and distinguish it in your playing. Another technique you can do is play rest strokes on the melody note. You can't always play rest strokes, but it's an option. So same thing, like I always say, bring this music to your teacher, work on it with them. But if you want to work on voice balancing, this is the piece for you. All right, so once I started to hear voice balancing more clearly, then that's when I knew I needed to get my right hand as fluid as my left. And Villa-Lobos is perfect for that. It's Etude No. 1, probably the most famous classical guitar study ever. And it forces you to stay relaxed and musical, even in fast, repetitive patterns. And more important than anything, it also teaches you the importance of right hand fingering. And so take a listen at first in case you don't recognize the piece. Listen to just the first few measures. Right? You probably already recognize it just from those first few measures. And so here are the things you want to focus on when you're looking at this piece. Right hand fluidity, consistency, and relaxation, even under extreme speed. And so what I always recommend my students to do is to relax their left hand, is to mute the guitar with their left hand, and just start by looking just at the right hand fingering. And Villa-Lobos is very clear about giving this to you in his music. You got P, I, P, I, P, M, I, A, M, A, I, M, P, I, P, I, right? Start there, super slow. Even slower than that, I would say. Bum, 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 bum. And then once you have that super comfortable, and you can play that without mistakes, go get your metronome, find out what tempo you're at, and then go up by 5. Get that super comfortable, go up by 5 more. And you just keep doing that. Keep going up by increments of 5 until you can get it to the tempo that you want to start playing at. And then once you're there, once you feel super comfortable to the point that you can sit down, watch an episode of TV and play this on repeat without making a mistake, then start looking at the left hand. Start looking at the music, start applying the chords. Because when you have these folk ringing out chords, it gets really hard to hear when you're making a mistake. Because there's so much going on. Versus when you mute the guitar, you can really hear if you hit a wrong note or hit a wrong string or if there's a delay anywhere. So mute the guitar, practice the right hand fingering first, then apply the chords. And once you do that, then you can start looking at the piece in its entirety. And you want to start looking at the transitions and start looking at how the left hand interacts with the right hand while you're transitioning. So for example, between those first two chords, right here, pinky goes down first, then third finger, then second, then first. I don't make the change at the same time, right? It's gradual. Pinky, third, second, first. Everything comes down when you need it, not at the same time. And so then you can start looking at right hand, maintaining that right hand while your left hand transitions and how those two interact. And it becomes this really beautiful dance. And it's so much fun and it's really cool. And that goes throughout the entirety of the piece as you work your way up the fretboard. So if you're looking for something to help you with your right hand fluidity, right hand fingerings, pattern memorization, and just overall really fun piece, then I absolutely recommend you look at Etude No. 1. I think every guitarist at one point needs to learn it, if you haven't already. But like I always say, print out the music, bring it to your teacher. I believe it's in public domain. If it is, I will attach a link below to that as well. Check it out and let me know what you think. And so after spending time with all three of these, I started to really realize that each one teaches something bigger than just finger movement. They train how you think about sound, tension, and flow on the guitar, and that's really why I still come back to them all the time. Not with just myself, but with my students. And these studies have stuck with me for years because they teach the kind of lessons that go beyond finger exercises. They make you listen differently. You know, we talked about voice balancing. We've talked about how the right hand and the left hand interact and play with each other. We've talked about the left hand transitions. And listening to thirds, and there's so many beautiful things in the guitar that these 3 studies alone can teach you and allow you to explore, and they're so much fun. If you've worked on any of these pieces or have other studies that changed how you play, I'd really love to hear about them in the comments. And if you found this helpful, consider subscribing, liking, leaving a comment. I make videos like this to help guitarists at any level enjoy the instrument and keep growing and just become members of the guitar community. And so thanks for being here. Like I said, I really appreciate all the support and I hope you enjoy. Now get to playing.